Hello, welcome back to my channel. Thanks for checking this out. Let's see, I think I need to zoom in a little. Oh, too much, too much. There we are. Okay, that's fine. I'm going to leave it there. It gives me some wiggle room. We are looking at From Crypta Comics, which is a guy who on Twitter is called Vault Kobold. He has Cidolfus, The Legend of the Ashman. Mine happens to be number 8 out of 100, which it's like this. Is this print on demand? Because I don't know how he did it, but that 8 is part of the book. All right, it's not written on. This is a very short story, but my overall take on it is it's a full story as a comic book. It accomplishes what should be accomplished in terms of telling a story. How are we doing on the? I don't want to give you more glare. Anyway, there we go. So it starts here. Vault Kobold. Rover Studios, the art, design Steve Dye, etc. There is a prologue. Do read the prologue if you're able to pick up a copy of this. So, it's almost poetic, which is why at first I was reading it, I was like, why are there errors in here? You know, grammar, punctuation. No, it's poetic. Leave it alone. It's fine. So, Vlanran is a world of magic from the greatest gods to the most mundane mold, and it goes on from there. A choice made in the final moment that would stretch on through the ages. So, where are we? Yeah, such is our tale, the legend of the Ashman Cidolfus, member of the court of tragedy that serves the mighty father Nox, king of Regnon. I haven't read this in forever, by the way. A glimpse into his origin, the result of an evil begetting evil, born of love, corrupted by rage. And then that is what we see in the next, I think, 12 pages? Is something like that. That's a preview to something else. So let's see. Story-wise, we've got double-page spreads. 1, 2, 3, and we're at the staple. 4, 5, or 4. No, just 4. So that's 8 pages here. So this was nice. This caught my attention when I first saw it in pencils and no color. How this was a little bit more rough. The man in the front, but how the clouds were there, I thought that was cool. And it's all narrated. So it's all first person narrated. I remember what I was, who I was, a mere man, a decent man. I claim no kindness or nobility. I left that judgment to others. That's where the story starts. And we see him with his loved one, who I believe is his wife, if not fiance, but I think it's wife. And we get to see them in different, and you know, doing things couples do, walking around. Now, as far as I think Vault Kobold said, he was the one who said, excuse me, that you can't have an all positive review or an all negative review, and he doesn't really buy into it. There has to be something that was wrong or could be changed or whatnot. And here's the one thing I noticed the first time I read this, before he even said that, was these two two panels with dialogue box or the narration boxes here are supposed to be parallel, but they're not. So here, this narration box is 4 lines, and it's not really covering up anything that we don't see up there. And I don't know if you can tell, but these you can really see through. Focus? I think that's in focus. Okay, I'm looking at the screen on the back of my camera. But these are slightly transparent, just barely transparent, where you can see somebody's face right here above my thumbnail under the eye, or between the I and the L, really, like right there. So with that, trying to show the difference in people from here to here with the glowing eyes, the labors of the day and the hardness of life did not hold me under her love. No, I was content. He's content with her, and you can see that. So the whole parallelism is here, but I think it would have more effect. I didn't even notice this until, and it said, what's that? Until I saw these guys over here and that they're parallel to them. So moving this dialogue box up and making it 4 lines so that it could be narrower, much like this, I think would be a better parallel. And at the same time, the problem with that is then you have the dialogue box in the upper left corner of all 3 panels, which gets, looks a little weird, repetitive, etc. Perhaps this dialogue box could be, narration box, sorry, could be down here if we want to cover up the dirt instead of the architecture in the sky. So choices could be made. We could see them read, come to here, see all this, read, see all that. So I think these two could be moved around like that, unless you just like the green better down here. Plus there's maybe a couple millimeters too much space underneath there, so it could be narrowed like a millimeter or two. I don't know. Depends on what the software allows. So now what's nice about this is we're not told everything as we go through this in narration. We're given his thoughts about what happened and being shown what happened, and it all flows together. So you need the pictures to tell the story, and you need the narration for the story to make sense. In other words, it's a comic book. It succeeds. We get to know the character. We have a reason to like or dislike the character, to sympathize with the character. That's really much more important. We see what happens, and it's not just events. The question is, by the time the events are over, do they mean anything? And yes, they do. And so when they're being murdered, as he's burning to death, his rage saves him, but not her. His thirst for vengeance, see, that's 3, 4, yeah, and turns him into this creature. So it's an origin story of this burning man down here, which is standing over her on the cover. There she is, like that. I'll give you a little closer view. And as far as accomplishing what a story should accomplish in a chapter or as a story, it's not just the events, but what do they mean. He does it, and it needs to be a comic, because it's told well as a comic. The pictures and the words rely on each other to walk you through the events and the story to get to know the characters. It's awesome. So Walt Kobold did a really good job on Cidolfus. I don't know how many copies he has on hand, or if excuse me, if all 100 were ever printed, or whatever that is. He does follow it up with a little itty-bitty preview. There's an epilogue here, and so a product of tragedy that now heralds it for all others. It being, I forget what. Let's see. Such is the end of a tale forgotten, a lesson unlearned. A moment of wrath leads to an eternal price. So wrath as a sin, not as a virtue, is how this is being presented. Anyway, death, kindness, denied by desire. So sate a moment of pleasure, a moment of retribution. A toll of peace and a toll of peace and love was extracted. Barred by thy own will, Cidolfus damned himself forevermore. Bind to the path he now walks in bitter hope. It leads him to what he lost rather than what he forsook in rage and fire. A product of tragedy that now heralds it for all others. So in other words, his existence is now a warning to others. Pretty cool. Anyway, so we have a little bit of a preview coming in 2023. Grimshaw reads Gambit. It's just this cover piece, and then 2 unlettered pages. That's it. That's the preview. So the art is spot on in the preview. We get a setting. There's a little ship down here. We get the other point of view. We know from that point of view who we're looking at. It's a setup. Storytelling wise, it's a setup, not in the plot. So these men are manning crossbows, and that's the end of it. Just a little preview for whatever's coming next. Anyway, good job, Walt Kobold. Thanks for making a book. Have a good, thanks for spending your time with me watching this. All right, have a good night.